I always tell everyone, like, it's kind of like the race to your first 100 appointments, right? Some people, they take 3, 4 months, 5 months to actually ever hit those appointments. The faster you get there, the better you'll get quicker, right? So for me, I think that breaking point was when I realized, like, this is a volume game. Like, you have to put in the volume. You have to get a lot of appointments, and you have to, treat it like you have to have an abundance mind. And it took me like 2 or 3 months to actually understand that. And then I think once that clicked for me, where I had a couple conversations with people who've been doing it for years, and they're like, hey, you're not supposed to be profitable your first year in insurance, right? You're not supposed to make all this money in the beginning. Like, that's just how it is. And I kind of had a little bit of a bad concept coming in, thinking like I was going to make all this money from the get go. And yeah, that obviously didn't happen. So I think I'd say probably around the 3 month mark is when things started like clicking in my head, like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to continue doing to, continue making the money that I want to make and continue to grow.
Okay. Hey, welcome back to the podcast. I have a very special guest today. I have Stefano Schaffrath with us today, and he has been an incredible, integral piece of the team, and he has had some incredible months here with insurance. So, Stefano, I'm excited to have you on.
I'm excited to be on, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, Steph, let's get started with the beginning. Like, what was your introduction into entrepreneurship?
So I've always had I guess you could call entrepreneurial mindset. But, as a young person, I've, always had to go through job on job and this and that. But I always knew, like, within, like, I was always going to want to do my own thing, work remotely, own a business, do things in the future. So when I first got the chance to kind of get out of the job scene and start doing like online sales back in high ticket around 3 years ago, that's when things first started kicking off. First started realizing that, you can make money online and do different things than just going into a 9 to 5 or working in person. So that's kind of where it all started in the high ticket space, and then later transitioned into insurance, coming up on a year just now, just hit a year in insurance. So
That's amazing, Steph. And before the high ticket space, did you do like, were you in college? Did you do any like, service-based business or industry? What did that look
Mhm.
like for you?
So no college, fresh out of high school. Well, actually, fresh out of high school. In high school, I started working a little bit entrepreneurial. I was doing sales at clubs and events and promoting events and stuff like that. So always kind of going through the hustle. So you could call it sales and hospitality. It's just always the industries that I've been in. And then I was serving at a restaurant. So obviously, hospitality, hotel work, and all that stuff. And then from there, sales and insurance. So always been in sales and hospitality mainly, never really veered off from too far from that.
Gotcha. And then getting into the high ticket space, obviously there's a lot of highs and lows from what we've seen from a lot of different guests that we've had. But what was your experience like in the high ticket space?
So it was all over the place. I mean, when you're starting anything new, there is a process to it. I mean, you can get very lucky with a lot of things where you'll have from the get go, you'll make a ton of money in a lot of industries, but it's not very common. A lot of people think that you need immediate gratification when you're doing a lot of these things, and that's very far from the truth. So yeah, when I first started in high ticket, it went pretty well. Then it went bad, then it went well, very inconsistent. So it was a point in my life where, I'm luckily I'm 25. So it was when I was 22. So not too long ago. Obviously I don't have, family, I don't have tons of debt, don't have a house and things like that. So, you make it work however you can. So a lot of inconsistency, but you just got to push through it knowing that, what your greater goal is in the future.
Absolutely. And Steph, getting into insurance. So when did you get started in insurance?
So I got licensed just about a year ago. So yeah, basically almost a year. I started January 2nd of this year, 2025 is when I started like really selling, when I started getting on the phones and everything. So this year, basically it's coming up on a year.
Gotcha. Okay. And tell us about kind of like getting started. Were you just like, 10 toes in and it was just everything made sense and you were off to the races, or was there like some skepticism and maybe you had to build into it? What was your journey like?
So the skepticism was before I really ever signed up. I've always heard of insurance in the past, like life insurance. I kind of always thought it was a scam in the back of my head, before I even started. And then, Spencer, obviously one of my best friends, he called me up one day. He said, "Hey, let's do insurance together." And I was like, "Hell, all right, let's do it. I trust you. If you think it's a good opportunity, then let's do it. So that's when I had quit the offer that I was on, and I said I'm going all into this because we saw the numbers. We saw a friend of ours, making a lot of money. So I had that initial belief, and that thought process was like, hey, these people are making all this money. Why can't I? So that
Mm.
was the initial thought process, and then got licensed, and then just went all in because I knew it worked. I didn't know how I was gonna make it work, but I knew that I was gonna make it work. I didn't know if it was gonna take a week. I didn't know if it was gonna take months, but I just knew that it worked. So I said I'm doing it, and I did it 100% all in. Took it full time from the get go. I didn't like ease into it at all.
That's incredible. Just jumping straight in. And what did the like intro begin for you? Like how did that look? Was it, instant success, or was it, a slow burn into the process?
I don't think I made a sale for like 3 weeks almost. I went negative for my first couple weeks. Really just figuring out the process. I came with a bit of an ego because obviously been in sales for a very long time, thinking that I have this inner confidence to me with sales where I believe you have to have a lot of confidence to be good in sales. So I already had that high ego coming in and got wrecked in insurance in the beginning. So yeah, it humbled me a little bit there, in that sense, but it took me some time to actually get going. But then once I got going, I just kept on doing, kept doing more and more volume, and little by little just started growing and growing every month.
That's great. And what was like let's go first 90 days. Like what did the profitability of, insurance look like for you?
Not very much. I mean, I was the first month I was probably, maybe I went positive or break even like on the end of the month, towards the end of the month. Then I was profitable. I was profitable long term, like always, but I was in a lot of debt and I barely had any money and when I first started. So all the money that I was making was just going back into paying all the stuff that I owed money on, right? I had to borrow
Yeah.
money, all those things, which, not financial advice, but if you're in a position where you don't have that much money and you want to do insurance, it works if you work it. So you got to, bet on yourself, just like, any business. If you're a business owner, like most business owners, they go hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt before ever, breaking even and breaking a profit. So you got to treat it that way. And I guess initially I did, and obviously I didn't go into hundred thousands of dollars of debt, but I had a good amount of money that I owed when I first started. So I was profitable, but I was just paying everything back. So I didn't really see the green like fully until I was probably like, I'd say, I don't know, 6 months in really. Cause like, yes, I was making money month 2, 3, 4, 5, but I didn't see it in my bank account yet, until
Yeah.
probably like 5, 6 months in.
Okay. And what was that turning point for you of where obviously you were like 6 months in when you started to see the profit hit your bank account, but as far as sales wise, like was there a specific moment that you remember in your journey where you're like, "Oh wow, like this is where like it's real."
Yeah. I always tell everyone like it's kind of like the race to your first 100 appointments, right? Some people, they take 3, 4 months, 5 months to actually ever hit those appointments. The faster you get there, the better you'll get quicker, right? So for me, I think that breaking point was when I realized like this is a volume game. Like you have to put in the volume. You have to get a lot of appointments, and you have to, treat it like you have to have an abundance mind. And it took me like 2 or 3 months to actually understand that. And then I think once that clicked for me, where I had a couple conversations with people who've been doing it for years, and they're like, hey, you're not supposed to be profitable your first year in insurance, right? You're not supposed to make all this money in the beginning. Like, that's just how it is. And I kind of had a little bit of a bad concept coming in, thinking like I was going to make all this money from the get go, and yeah, that obviously didn't happen. So I think I'd say probably around the 3 month mark is when things started like clicking in my head. Like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to continue doing to continue making the money that I want to make, and continue to grow.
Okay. And what would you say is like your biggest month so far that you've had?
So my biggest month initially was back in I think it was May or June, where I did 51,000. However, again, I was only 5 or 6 months into the business. So I wrote 51,000, but I did profit a good amount of money. I profited probably half of that, which is fantastic amount of money. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of money. But it wasn't until I really understood how to be even more profitable with, placement, persistency, and all these things. So obviously as time goes on, like you'll get better every single day. No matter how long you've been in this business, you'll learn something every week, every day, doesn't matter. So November I did 50,000, but I actually profited close to 35, 40,000. because I have a team too, right? And I made more profit on my deals, and I made more money on, the spread from my team.
Yeah.
So November was definitely the biggest month for me. I think profited about 35,000, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's great. And so just for the people that are listening here, when you talk about placement, persistency, and being able to have like profitability, can you explain a little bit more of how that works?
Yeah. So let's say you write 10 deals and you have 3 of them that fall off. Your persistency is 70%. So that is basically the standard across the insurance industry, where your placement is roughly around the 70% range. You write 10 policies, 3 will fall off, over the course of the next, 6 months, right? That's standard. Luckily, with the company I work with, the company persistency is around 90%. So if you're writing about 10 policies, 1 will fall off. So you kind of always have to calculate, hey, I made 20,000 this month, but in reality, you made 18,000 is what you need to calculate, because people cancel in this business. People, a couple months later, they realize maybe they didn't have that $100, that they could put towards it. Maybe they did at the time. Now they don't. So it's just the nature of sales and the business. People cancel. People can't afford things. So you have to calculate that into your income. And that's something that I wasn't taking into account in the beginning. Obviously, as you get smarter and you understand the business more, you start understanding how things work. So yeah, I would say that. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. And then when you mentioned you have a team and you're able to, profit off the team, what is it from writing business and also having a team? Like, what's that like for someone that maybe is watching this that's like, hey, I want to do both?
Yeah. You can definitely do both. However, you have to focus a little bit more on one thing. Anyone who says you can do 100% for both is just lying. Obviously, you have to have that balance, but you need to choose which one you're going to go hard on, if that makes sense. But you can do both at the same time. I'm not saying you can't do both at the same time. You just can't grow an agency to 100 agents if you're, doing 30, 40, 50,000 a month in the same time frame as if you were actually focusing on just building. So it is a little bit of a struggle, and it's hard to keep that balance, because, just like I mentioned earlier, you need volume to write business. So, and you also need volume of people to build a team. So it's hard to balance both. I'm still trying to figure it out myself, and I learn every day from that.
Yeah, that's great insight stuff. And when you talk about, having the volume, being able to write, those 40, 50K months, what does that day to day look like for you to be able to actually generate that type of volume to produce those numbers?
The number one thing I tell people is you have to be consistent, because if you're showing up on a Monday and you have a bad Monday, and then on Tuesday you have a bad day and you just say, okay, I'm taking the day off. You don't know if that's the day that you're going to have 3 or 4 deals come across the board, and it's going to change your entire week or your entire month for that sense, especially when you're starting out, right? Even more important when you're starting out, because in the beginning, if you, go out and write 2 or 3 deals and, you submit 3, 4, $5,000 in annual premium, that could change your entire month. That can change your lead flow. That can change everything. So when I first started in the business, the first 6, 7 months, I was working Monday through Saturday, every single day, 8 on the dot to 11, dialing, and then running appointments in the afternoons between 1 and 2 all the way to 8 p.m. every single day, Monday through Saturday. On Saturdays, I work a half day, but Monday through Friday, consistent, everything, every single day. So that was really what projected me to get to where I am now, because right now, I'm submitting similar amounts to people who've been in the business for years, but that's because I had that consistency through that time. And I didn't do the traditional route that a lot of people do, where they only work 3, 4 days, they ease into it, and then it takes them, 2 years to actually fully understand a lot of things. I feel like in a year I've done what most people do in 2 or 3 years in this business, but that's just because I'm a very hard worker, and I know where I want to go. So I would say if you're someone who's, you want to get somewhere, you got to know, what amount of work you want to put into it. But it's not for everyone. It's not easy either. I'm not saying it is.
Yeah. And for someone that's wondering what the day to day looks like obviously you had mentioned you're working, 5, 6 days a week. And mind you guys, he's the first one on, the last one off every single day. It's one of the things that I admire about you, Steph. But what does your day to day look like? Like when you are on, what does that day look like?
Okay. So now I don't necessarily need to work as hard, because I spend more money and invest more money on leads. So the more you invest on leads, the more volume you're going to have, or the quicker turnaround you're going to have, because When you invest more and more in leads, you don't need to dial as much as I used to. Before I was buying the $1 leads, the $3 leads, the $10 leads, and you got to know your numbers and you have to have more volume and you need to dial more to get more. Now it's, I just go out and buy more because I know I can and I know what to do with it. So right now, my day to day, you're saying like day from like when I wake up, everything you want to
Yep.
know?
Yeah. Like, what does a day in the life of Steph look like?
Okay, so throughout most of the year, for me, what it really was just waking up an hour before the dial sessions. I was washing my face, having breakfast, having coffee, and then I'd dial from 8 to 11. I'd hit the gym around the meeting time, which is around 11. 11 to 1, I would hit the gym, relax, eat something, and then I'd run my appointments from like 1:30 or 2 all the way to 8. However, the last 3 months, I changed that and I've seen a significant increase in my productivity and my numbers. Doing is I wake up at 5, I hit the gym at 5:45. I'm back home by around like 7:15 and then I shower and then I'm basically running a full day like through and through. Like I'll eat I don't know if this is advice that I should give out, but I don't schedule my lunches or I don't schedule like stuff. I just book, and whenever people no show, whenever I have 10, 15 minutes in between, that's when I'll eat and that's when I'll go to the bathroom and do whatever I got to do. But for me, it's just a through and through work day. And that's how I see for me to, I mean, it's working.
Yeah. What was the like profitability wise from when you were doing, the waking up in the morning like an hour before compared to what you're doing now? Like, what's that profitability shift look like that made it so worth it for you?
So what I was seeing was I was taking too big of a pause in my day and we deal with people that a lot of them are retired, and some people they don't want to talk to you at 5 or 6 at night. You're gonna have people that you're gonna close at 7, 8 p.m., and you're gonna have people that you're gonna close at 12 or 1, right? So what I was doing was I was starting my appointment day. I was starting too late. I was starting around 2 p.m. is when I'd really get going. So it's kind of like I kind of felt like I was waking up again after my Dow sessions. I was going to the gym. It wasn't really a refresh. My break was going to the gym and like it wasn't a good thing for my like mental. So now it's giving me just more time to I did the hardest thing in the day basically, which is going to the gym. I already completed the hardest task I need to do. So now everything to me in my head is easy. So it's that like switch. It's just I've just written way more business since I started doing it. Been way more consistent. So that's what's really changed. As far as profitability, obviously, it's just writing more business and being making more money.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you keep on talking about consistency, and obviously you go to the gym, you have a morning routine and kind of like a daily routine. What are some other things that you do that help you stay consistent?
Force myself to like I don't know. It's just something. I think it's just really just discipline. I just do it. Like I don't think about it. I just do it. Like I know what I need to do, and I just wake up and I try to not let things get in my way. That's it. It's not really I can't give you really, like, a straight on answer for that one because there's nothing I really do. I just do it. Like
Yeah. Just do it. When you have bad days or, you have maybe even bad weeks, is there anything that you do that help you overcome that to be able to keep those good months overall?
I think it's important to not look at like specifically like one day, just look at like your overall. So I like to remind myself whenever I have like a bad day, I'll go on the leaderboards and I'll look at my numbers and I'll see like, wait, I'm actually like number 7th for the month. Like what am I tripping about? Like, and this is this is a horrible thing to say what I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna say it. I'm just no filter. But, I'll look at people who have been in the business for way longer than me and I'll see they're way below than me. And it just helps me keep myself like, okay, wait, I'm actually not doing that bad. I'm very, 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 very tough on myself. And my girlfriend always tells me about it and hates certain things that I do. But I'm just very tough on myself. And that's just how I was raised and how I am. So, not everyone's the same, but this is kind of what keeps me grounded. I just look back and realize like, hey, I'm not really doing that bad. I'm this age, I'm doing this, I'm healthy. Like I'm grateful for a lot of things, and I think it's just looking back and just being grateful for what you currently have and what you're currently doing. That's what helps me get through the bad days and the bad moments.
That's powerful.
I don't consider myself like a normal person at all. So I just want to get ahead. It does if you want to compare yourself to normal, then do normal things. But for me, it's abnormal things is what I want to do. So
You got to do abnormal to become abnormal. That's great. What are some lifestyle changes that you've seen that you've had since joining insurance and having that consistency, because I'm sure that you had some big months with high ticket, like most people do, but the big months come with the low months, and you've been extremely consistent in insurance. So what does that look like for you?
So the most of the year, like I said, I was in a lot of debt. I didn't have that much money to my name because I just went through a lot of stuff in the high ticket space and, personal things. So for me, it was really being able to get back into a position. The first half of the year was getting back into a position where I don't have to worry about those things. So I got out of that. And then my girlfriend, for example, I like to spoil her. I want her to be the representation of like I want people to look at my girlfriend and say like, what the hell does her husband do? What the hell does her boyfriend do? That's what I want. That's my goal. So my girlfriend doesn't work. She hasn't worked in a year since I started insurance, basically. So giving her the lifestyle that she wants, and then just keeping humble to me as much as I can. I'm like I try to keep humble as much as I can, and I don't like showing off too much. Like I'll do it once in a while to like show people what's possible, not necessarily like boost myself up. So for me, it's really that just being comfortable and being able to, I think the biggest thing for me, and actually this is the number one reason why I got into remote sales and remote, lifestyle, is being able to, if I want to take a day off, if I want to book a flight and go wherever the hell I want to go tomorrow, I can do it. And I want to be in a place financially where it's not just like, not only can I just take it off, I can do it and come back and not have to worry about my bank and what's in my bank account and how much I spent and all that. That's my goal. And I feel like towards the end of the year, I've been getting there. I've taken a lot of trips, a lot of vacations.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the biggest.
What are some of like maybe one or two top places that you've been able to travel to in the most recent?
Well, I went to Europe with my girlfriend. We went to Ibiza. We went to Madrid. We went to a couple different places. Went to France, Monaco. That was amazing. That was amazing. So I think that one, and then yeah, the other day, my one of my good friends, it was his birthday, and he told me, oh, I had a last minute trip. He told me on Thursday night, I booked a flight for Friday morning, and then we just went for the weekend, stayed in a villa and went on a boat, went to, do a ton of things, and I booked that one day prior. So those are things
Yeah.
that I'm very grateful that I can do, thanks to obviously doing insurance remotely and, having this lifestyle.
Do you think traveling like that trip to Europe, or even that last minute trip that you took for your friend's birthday, do you think that changes like your mindset, and it like improves the kind of like the drive that you have, or like does it do anything mentally for you?
For me, not really. Because going back to, like, what I was telling you about discipline, like, I just do it. I don't really sometimes you'll need a reset and things like that because you've been working really hard. That for me, it's like more of a break, not necessarily like an aha moment or anything. It's more just like a reset.
Yeah. When you go on these trips, and I've been on quite a few trips myself, where it's being in the remote space, it's hard to put down the phone. It's hard to just like kind of disconnect. So when you go on this trip, being able to put yourself in the position, do you just, you have a team, you have things going on, but what does that look like for you as far as, being able to actually just like disconnect?
And that's hard. That's very hard. I'm very on my phone. I always look at notifications. I always look at things coming in. I try to be more hands off. And I think my team and the people that I work with know how hard I work. And they know that when I go on vacation, it's not really a moment for them to like, really blow my phone up. So luckily I work with really great people and like they know again that I work very hard. So when I do take those moments off, they know what I'm doing. So I haven't had a big problem with that. I mean, I've obviously had to put out a couple fires here and there, which is normal,
Yeah.
but it just comes with the job and I like doing it. So it's not a problem.
That's great. I have like two more questions here for you. One is more of, what do you think the hardest part about insurance is?
The mental game in your first 3, 4, 5 months, I think that's the hardest thing. Yeah, the mental game.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, the being able to learn that new skill set, and being able to really understand that it's a new process, and
Mhm.
um that's a good one. I really appreciate that. And then
Yeah, like understanding that, things take time. There are people that go to school for 5, 6, 7, 8 plus years to then have to look for a job and, maybe make 10,000 a month. If you do this right, you can put yourself in a position to make 20, 30,000 a month, but you have to understand that there's a whole process you got to go through to get there, and you have to be willing to invest in yourself, and that's, invest in yourself and invest in your business, time in yourself, invest time in, your business, invest money in your business. Those are all things that you need to understand. I mean, eventually you're learning a skill again that you can make 20, 30, 40, 50,000 a month even, but you can't get that skill in a month or two. And I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of people to understand, that you need to trust that process.
Yeah. Do you feel like someone needs to have sales experience before they get into insurance or need to take like a sales course or something like that to be able to be successful?
Not at all. But you do need to be someone who has self discipline, someone who can show up. That's really what you need. You need that drive. If you're someone who needs immediate gratification and you're someone who needs someone to tell you what to do, then it's not going to work. Like, you need to have that inner drive to show up and do it yourself. I mean, it's just like owning a business. Like, you need to, if you're the business owner and you're not operating from the, when you start off, like, your business not is not getting off the ground. It's the same thing.
Yeah, that's great insight. Looking at 2026, obviously you got started about a year ago. You're doing phenomenal. Give the listeners, where your agency is currently at right now.
So last month we did roughly close to 120,000 between a few agents. I don't have too many agents. We have a few top killers.
Yeah.
So for 2026, you're saying like numbers, like what do I estimate, what I want,
What
or
are your goals?
so for me, I think before the end of Q1, I want to be doing about 200 to 250 a month end of Q1. And then by Q4, I want to have an agency doing about, you know, 750,000 a year to 1 million by the end of next year. And then I'm planning on getting out of the field within the next 2 to 5 months, just depending on how the agency goes.
When you say get out of the field, like obviously that means you're not going to be writing business anymore. But what is that transition into for you?
That I'm not going to write business anymore.
Yeah, like when you talk about getting out of the field, obviously you're not going to stop working.
No, 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 not gonna stop working. No, the reason is it's very hard to write at a very high level and also recruit at a very high level. So for me, it's right now it's probably an 80%, 20%. For me, I want to do like I'd say like a 60-40 and then transition into 80-20 and then 100-0 where I'm not writing business, but you have to like I'm up here right now writing business and recruiting here. So I want to gradually get it to here and then have recruiting go over, writing business, because I do want to build an agency. I think it is a great opportunity, and I know how to get people in positions to make 20, 30,000 a month. And I've did it with a couple of my agents, and I want to show that opportunity to way more agents. And I know I can do it. So that's really what my goals are. And then whatever comes after that in terms of numbers is amazing. It's fine. Obviously you have inner goals, but whatever comes is fine.
Absolutely. And when looking at recruiting an agent, what are you specifically looking for?
Someone who just won't make excuses and is just willing to work. Is just willing to work and really take this serious, willing to show up. And that's really all it is.
That's great. And no prior sales experience, just no anything, just really being able to get in, listen, and be coachable.
Yeah, 100%. Doesn't need any experience with this. You just need to be able to read a script and be consistent and show up. That's it. That's really it. Anything else can be learned.
That's awesome. And Stefano, for anyone that is still watching this and they're interested in being able to reach out to you and learn from you, how can they get in touch with you?
So my Instagram, put it up here, and I'm joking. My Instagram is SSTFNO. Text me, DM me there. And then my number is 305-491-2112. If you want to call or text me, I'm fine with that too.
Steph, do you have any last words for our listeners?
Not really, man. I appreciate you having me on. This was awesome. I definitely like speaking in front of the mic and seeing your beautiful face.
Appreciate.
But no, that's all I got, man.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, Steph, thanks so much for joining us. And if you guys are interested in being able to communicate or get in touch with Steph, please message him below on Instagram or text him. And then if you guys are interested in more and wanting to understand more about how insurance works, feel free to click the next video and be able to just dive in and get more education on exactly what we do. That way you can be fully informed when you come and talk with us. So thanks again for listening and your time. Awesome. We'll see you guys next time.